You may have already come to similar conclusions about the power of artifacts. You also may have realized that no matter how strongly you feel that, if those who settle your estate don't share those feelings, your personal and family treasures will be lost. What can you do to help the next generation want to preserve the things, or at least those things worthy of keeping? Here are 5 steps that you might consider to improve the chances that your stuff and their stories will live beyond your death. Step 1, identify what is worthy of preservation and what you'll be okay with being tossed out or sent to Goodwill. And don't try to save everything. How do you begin? One method is to go into a room and look around. What do you see? Find an object and ask yourself, what is the story of this thing? It's that simple. Just start with one object. Don't feel pressure to decide immediately what should be preserved unless it's obvious. Think about it for a while. The other method is to hunt for specific objects that capture important parts and events of your life, such as your childhood, your faith, school, career, public service, hobbies, family, and so forth. As you begin to compile lists of things, you'll need to prioritize what is most significant. Has anyone here settled the estate of a deceased loved one? It can be overwhelming and too often just another thing on a long list of things that need to be done immediately. If you think that those who settle your estate will keep everything and have the time to carefully think through their decisions, you will likely be sorely disappointed. One question you might ask yourself when prioritizing what should be kept is, how sad would I be if this is given to Goodwill and the stories connected to it are lost? A few additional thoughts. Preserve your own stuff, not just those heirlooms that belong to your ancestors. Size is an important consideration. Your daughter-in-law may not want your dining room set, but will be okay sticking your class ring in a drawer. Or perhaps she will want the dining room set, particularly if it has a very interesting story. Be open to collecting common things as well as the exceptional. It is the memories or stories connected to an artifact that make it exceptional. A few years ago, I asked my dad if he still had his old metal safety razor, the one where you twist the bottom and the top opens, revealing the blade. I remember as a young boy watching my dad shave with it, and sometimes he had let me lather up my face and shave myself, with the blade removed, of course. I asked for it a few decades too late. He got rid of it when dual blade disposable razors came along. So be a proactive collector. Don't wait for a future time to collect things. Have a place to stick things that you no longer need, but feel may be worth keeping. And write a note about what it is and why it is important. Number 2, research. Once you've identified those items you think might be worthy of preservation, begin collecting information about them. Sorry about that. Start out by writing down as much as you know about the artifact. Answer the 5W1H questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Next, interview family and friends who might know information or have stories about the thing. Once you've collected these stories, research the physical artifact. To what period does it date? Where is it from? Ask yourself, does the object support the stories connected to it? Here's one example from the museum where I work. The story we have about this artifact is that it was brought to Utah in 1852. I don't know if you can read that very well. Does this artifact support that story? A question for those of you that know world history. When was Czechoslovakia created? Not until World War I. So you look at this, and there's the first clue that maybe this didn't come across the plains in 1852. And then you can do more research and discount it and be a little bit sad that it's not what you thought it was. An important concept that you need to consider is provenance. In other words, how did this object make its way from the original owner to you? If you can document the transfer of objects through photographs, wills, or other documents, all the better. Sometimes all we have are family traditions. Capture all you can about an object's provenance. Learn all you can about the people, places, organizations, and events connected to the object. An artifact can serve as a portal to another time and place if we collect enough information. But keep in mind a quote from L.P. Hartley: "The past is a foreign place. They do things differently there." Postpone judgment and keep an open mind. If all this feels overwhelming, don't worry about it. Something, anything, is better than nothing. Gather all of that research and information into a pleasing, organized format. Here's a little sneak peek at what to anticipate shortly. Scott Christensen developed a wonderful template for his reports that could serve as a good model for you to follow. Note that he captured critical information, including stories that provide significance and meaning to the artifact, descriptions, provenance, and photographs. Ask yourself, if this report is all that will be known about this when I am gone, is it enough? You need to make sure that the artifact and the report make it into the future. The ins and outs of preservation could take up all our time today. In fact, a couple of years ago, our colleagues came and did a lecture on preservation. There is good information online. For example, colleagues at the Church History Department, where Scott and I work, have created how-to videos on preservation. If you don't find an answer to your questions there, you can click the Ask Us button and receive specific answers from our conservators. It's a really great service. Still, we should consider a few principles. Things get old and disintegrate. Light, pests, dust, humidity, and temperature fluctuations take their toll on objects. Accidents happen and things are sometimes broken. You need to weigh the options between focusing on preservation and keeping it boxed away where it is protected but seldom seen, and having it out where it can be enjoyed and shared, but is at greater risk of being damaged. Perhaps the best position is somewhere between these two. Archival boxes and other preservation supplies, just like those used in museums, can be purchased online. With just a little bit of research and a little bit of common sense, any of us can do little things to better preserve our stuff. I should say something here about deciding when to donate your treasures to a museum or other institution. First, realize that museums do not have unlimited space, but also appreciate that they will make room for great stuff that fills gaps in their collection and fits their institution's mission. The more you know about the object's provenance, the more artifact research you have done, and the more documented stories you have about the item, the greater chance a museum will be interested in acquiring it. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, share. Try to instill your love for family history into others. Take the heirlooms off the shelf or out of the box and tell their stories. Take things to family reunions. Tell stories about the artifacts, even when they are not with you. Make videos about them. Put pictures and stories about your heirlooms on social media sites. Upload your research reports to Family Search, Ancestry, MyHeritage, etc. If you walk through the exhibit hall, you'll notice how many products are available to help us capture, preserve, and share our treasures. One of my cousins put a picture of my grandpa's hat on Family Search. I wish there was even more information, but even this little bit provides a connection to the man. It helps me better visualize him. I don't have the physical object, but this still touches me. Duplication is the secret to survival. Share so many copies of your research that hopefully some of them are around in 100 years.